По отдельно включили, вот когда красная горит, значит вы говорите.
Там уже внутри можно.
Alan turns it on. Welcome to today's strategic opening session for Cause Energy Week. It is a great pleasure that I have to welcome you to this opening session. It's going to be exciting. We are joined by the leaders of the major national companies from Kazakhstan, from Azerbaijan, from Turkey, from Uzbekistan, and I already apologize to Rich, and Shell. You're always going to be the odd man out today, but we still welcome you. We're very interested to hear about what our leaders on this stand here are thinking about in terms of the energy future, and my job is to try and guide the conversation through this. I've been excited about this session ever since I saw the list of participants. My name is Matt Sagers. I'm Vice President with S&P Global and head of the Eurasian Energy Unit. I have been working on Eurasian energy, do I dare say, for almost 50 years now. Yes, 50 years. Also turns out that next week I'm passing a very important milestone. I've got to hurry back to the United States. There's a little event called my 50th wedding anniversary that's taking place next week. And I got to answer to my boss as well. So it's been almost that long that I've been working on the region. And I want to introduce you to our panelists today, starting with Bolat Achalakov. He is chairman of our host today, Kaz Energy Association. And so Bolat, let me have you make a few introductory comments, and we'll proceed from there.
Қайырлы күн, құрметті әріптестер, құрметті ханымдар мен мырзалар. Good morning, dear ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, friends and partners. It's a great honor and true privilege for me to welcome you to the opening of the Kazakhstan Energy Week 2025, which is the 16th Kaz Energy Eurasian Forum, an event that has long stood as a symbol of cooperation, trust and strategic dialogue across the Eurasian region. Today, we gather here not merely to exchange experience, but to jointly share the course of the energy sector at a pivotal moment when global challenges are accompanied by unique opportunities. The Kaz Energy Forum is a platform where new ideas are born, strategic partnerships are forged, and guiding principles are set that will define the future of our industry for decades to come. On this special occasion, we feel a profound responsibility for our shared mission. Energy is no longer confined to national interest. It's a domain where collaboration, open dialogue, and joint prospects create real value. I extend my deepest gratitude to our distinguished guests and partners, the leaders of the region and foremost energy companies, Kazmunegas, Turkish Petroleum, Sokar, and Uzbek Neftegas, and also welcoming our dear Shell, and you are also welcome. I extend my deepest gratitude to our your personal presence here today, your engagement, and your willingness to share your vision and insights are a powerful testament to the fact that the future of energy is shaped together by the middle powers. Countries ready to join forces, take responsibility, and drive collaboration for a resilient, stable, and prosperous energy future. It's through the dedication, leadership, and collaborative spirit of these nations, embodied in your commitment and vision, that we strengthen our sector and open new horizons for generations to come. This session, CEO perspective on the future of energy, underscores the central role of company leaders in shaping the industry. It's the vision, strategic insight, and decisive action of these executives that chart the course for investment, drive innovation, and secure sustainable growth. The perspective shared here will not only influence individual companies, but will ripple across the entire Eurasian energy landscape, guiding our collective journey towards a resilient, innovative, and sustainable future. Kazakhstan and our regional partners actively contribute to the global energy dialogue. We develop traditional energy resources, implement cutting-edge technologies, leverage artificial intelligence, and invest boldly in green energy and decarbonization solutions. Only by combining experience with innovation and tradition with transformation we can secure a future that is efficient, safe, and environmentally responsible. It's also a matter of immense pride that Astana will host the World Petroleum Congress in 2028, a global event that reflects the trust of the international community and affirms our region's role as a reliable, forward-looking partner on the world stage. I'm confident that ideas, insights, and strategic visions shared during today's session will leave a lasting imprint on the development of energy in Eurasia and beyond. To all participants, I wish inspiration, bold thinking, fruitful discussions, and new partnership that will strengthen energy resilience, unlock new opportunities, and lay a solid foundation for generations to come. And now, with great pride and anticipation, I declare that Kazakhstan Energy Week 2025 officially open. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Bolat. The countries and companies that are represented on the stand today, they are increasingly playing an important role in shaping the energy future of Eurasia, as we heard from Bolat. We're going to discuss some key projects, long-term strategies, some views about how the transition is taking place, the different pace of it, how it's impacting their companies and countries, as well as the challenges and opportunities facing these national companies and IOCs in this era of the global energy transition. The first person that I want to turn to is kind of our host for the event, national company KMG. It's, of course, Kazakhstan's largest national energy company. It's a system-forming player that impacts not only the national energy sector, but regional markets and even global markets as well. And I would say that today KMG is poised at an interesting crossroads. It has the challenges of being a traditional oil and gas developer, and this is going to run across the list here. Everyone here has kind of had a traditional focus in these hydrocarbons that we've known for a long time, but at the same time, we're looking at these new technologies that are evolving and new energy sources and so forth. Kazakhstan and KMG has this goal of diversifying the energy sector in Kazakhstan away from its traditional focus, but I would say more by adding other things than taking away. Things like a nuclear power plant, gas, chemical projects, and of course, actively debating the role of low carbon sources in the overall energy balance. So a key question for our chairman here of KMG is kind of how does he see the national company balancing all of these many challenges and issues here? It's a fully integrated company. It's got a whole variety of responsibilities, not only to the nation as a whole, but to its shareholders and so forth. So for Mr. Hasyanov, where do you see KMG going amidst all these priorities? Do you have higher priorities? Do you have some ways of looking at this? What do you see as being the main growth points for KMG going forward? Is it in traditional upstream? Is it in refining? Is it international upstream projects, which for some of the companies is certainly going to be quite important? How do you balance off all of these many different demands?
Thank you, Matt. Let me first of all to express our appreciation for all participants, dear guests, dear participants. Thank you for coming on our session today. And you mentioned several times about priority. It's about source of energy, new source of energy, alternative source of energies. For KMG, of course, we are oil and gas company, and we will remain oil and gas company anyway as a basic, our focus, our priority, and in several areas. Most of participants here are aware that we vertical integrated company, public company. Today our stocks are increasing, and you can see it on our public reports. But anyway, for us, several areas, it's very important. First, it's geological, our plants. Today in our geological pipelines, we have 13 projects, which is under implementing now, and we will proceed actively this our work. You know, today some of these projects we are realizing with our partners, some of the independently from Kazanagas ourselves, and we will proceed these geological our works very actively. It means that we are still anyway and believe and will be oil and gas company, and new resource, very important to find the new resource, very important for company. The second is oil recovery. Today we are talking about oil recovery. I mean, always, and it's about efficiency. It's about new technology. We will continue this work. We have our internal program, and today we're implementing a lot of new technologies in our fields, and we have results, actually not bad results today. It's a second our priority. The third is, of course, is our gas chemical, petrochemical, new big projects. We today in Kazakhstan, you know, we have a polypropylene production. Every year the production is growing, and we started construction on a big our polyethylene project. We have plans for polyethylene terephthalate. We have plans for urea, and of course it will be our priority for the diversification. If we are thinking about challenges, and as you mentioned, some new alternative sources of energy, anyway, we have to, and we do this work to satisfy this ecology, decarbonization agenda, and today, as the Kazakhstan government approved decarbonization program till 2060, and of course, one of the biggest company like a KMG will proceed, will work on this, and anyway, we have in our portfolio renewable projects also, it's, for example, in Janauzian, in Mangstau, hybrid power station, solar, wind, and gas, and first stage was launched 1 week ago, 50 megawatt, with our partner ENI company, and we will continue this work, and of course, our plans to realize another projects in our portfolio. Anyway, we will do it. But you're right, it's about balance. It's about balance, and we see that challenge also, as you know, also it's a new opportunity. And today here with us, our colleagues, thank you for coming. It's our partners, and believe me, today our cooperation is more effectively. You just mentioned about this region, our cooperation in the region, and today our guests, our participants, their participation on this session, I mean, it's evidence of our strong collaboration. Thank you, Matt.
Let me follow up a little bit, and I think it will help frame our discussion as we talk with the other leaders here. And this has to do with the message that I was hearing from you about these diversification initiatives. Is these initiatives are more not as an alternative, but basically kind of natural extensions, going to that next phase of using oil and gas in the next step of production rather than a true alternative. And so one of the key questions that everyone comes back to is kind of, what's the future of oil long term? We've heard all of the different narratives. I think one of the most important things that's happened over the past couple of years is we've realized that there's a famous show on American television called Curb Your Enthusiasm. And I would say that one of the things that we've learned about the transition is curb our enthusiasm a little bit. It looks like oil and gas are going to remain around for a lot longer than some of the earlier narratives. I mean, the different analytical agencies are all forecasting different schemes and forecasts and so on. I would say that one of the more interesting ones that's a revision would be BP's. Now, Rich, we don't want to steal your thunder as well, but we know that Shell is also very much involved with, scenarios and so forth. It's always been a hallmark of Shell. But BP was one of the ones that embraced the idea of transition earlier and sooner. And now it's been revised to where oil and gas is going to hang around a little bit higher and longer. And I would say that's true of our forecast too. As I looked at our latest scenarios that just came out earlier this summer, I would say that for oil, it's not really a peak. It's basically you reach a long plateau. They have the maximum consumption now occurring fairly soon in 2032, but the difference in 2060 is very small. It's still 94 million barrels a day, so the downturn is relatively small. And instead of thinking of it as a peak, we're now talking about it more as a plateau. Where does KMG come down on this whole issue, particularly as you think about your priorities for the future?
Not only KMG, it's, I think, all government subsoil users today, you can see it. We are not in our plateau as a government, and of course as a KMG also. I mentioned about new geological perspectives. And we see, and you know, officially, government will produce more than 100 million tons per year oil in several years. And this plateau will retain, I believe, long time period, and the new geological our projects will help to retain this plateau for long term.
So very much a view that oil is going to be hanging around for a lot longer and a lot higher than what we were thinking about earlier. Let me turn to SOCAR. We have a very similar sort of argument taking place. Well, in this case, it has to do with gas. SOCAR has emerged now as a very important player, not only within Azerbaijan. It's a national system-forming company, just like KNG, but at the same time, we've now seen where you have a major role in energy security in Europe on the gas side that came in. And the question that I would like to start out with you is, let's kind of do the same thing, only thinking about gas. In the same way that we've been thinking about oil, your view of gas in the future, and particularly the view of gas in Europe, I would say, is something that has changed dramatically over the past 3 years or so. And I think that this has really affected how Azerbaijan and SOCAR is looked at internationally. They now have an official name for this. It's called the Policy Reset from earlier. But how has this affected your view of the view of the future of Azerbaijan, and particularly its gas industry? I mean, we talked about oil, and of course, SOCAR is a big oil exporter and producer as well, but a little bit of twist here in terms of gas.
I will reply first for both oil and gas. We do believe that oil and gas will be around for decades to come. And our strategy for last years always have been based on this assumption that there will be need for oil and gas for many decades to come. And in that sense, the change in policies in some partner countries, it actually doesn't affect our policies or our strategies, because from the day one, from let's say 5-6 years ago, we were having the same vision that we are having today, that energy transition is happening, but it will happen on a pace that will be adjusted and that will be based on the readiness of the market, of the customers, and the industry to absorb it. So it's not something you just can tell by 2030 we will be all on renewables, or we will be we will not be using oil and gas. You have to see the reality, the fact, and it's not just one market, it's not 1, 5, 6, 23 countries, it's global. And if you look at the global, at this time when we are still talking about billions of people who don't have access to basic utilities, when we are talking about industrialization and development of large regions of our planet, we cannot just base the development plan of the world on most developed countries' current status and their readiness for it. And in that sense, we always were the party to the idea that the transition should be just. It should be happening, but it should be happening on the pace that will allow all the countries to develop. It should ensure decent life, not only for generations that will be living after 2050, but for the current generation too. For us, there is no difference between the kids living after 2050 and kids living now. They all should have the access to the basic utilities and the decent life. In that sense, gas, the story of gas, we were always believing that the gas will be there at least till 2070, even more. And that's why we were investing in upstream projects, and we were talking with our partners about increasing gas supplies. Around 3 years ago, our partners from Europe requested us to increase the supply of the gas, and we agreed to double our exports to Europe, but subject to the support of our European partners in financing the expansion of the pipelines, of the infrastructure. Because the current infrastructure, because Southern Gas Corridor, was funded by Azerbaijan and its partners, and we take all the risk of the implementation of this project, and until 2022 we were not thinking about expanding it. We did our job, we were exporting our gas, but when our partners in Europe requested for more gas, and it was very critical time for them, we actually increased our gas supplies to Europe around 60%, without spending any money from the Europe or European Union. But in order to have this on sustainable base and to have it for more volumes, we need to expand the gas pipeline, and for that we need assurance for long-term contracts from the buyers in Europe and support of the financial institutions of the European Union and Europe in funding it. And here comes some sort of position that, yes, we need the gas, but some people say until 2030, the others tell maybe until 2035, but we cannot fund it, we cannot finance any hydrocarbon projects. And in that sense, in this business, you don't invest for just 1 year of supply of the product, because as a gas industry, you need long-term contracts in order to invest in your upstream business, in order to supply that gas. We are, again, stand ready to increase the volumes of gas export to Europe, but subject to cooperation from European partners. First of all, ensuring long-term contracts. Second, investing together with us in the expansion of the infrastructure. But without this, even we were able to increase the gas supplies to Europe. But Azerbaijan now is playing a crucial role, not only in the European European energy security, but even more broader region. And I would like to use this opportunity once again to thank our partners and brothers in Turkey, especially our partner Intipal here. Together with Turkey, we were able to start supply of the gas to Syria, which is in need of it. And the country now is being developed, redeveloped, reconstructed, and it's a very difficult, challenging transition period. And together with Turkish partners and Qatari partners, we started supplying the gas to Syria in August of this year. And if you asked us 6 months ago, it was not in our plans. But again, we are ready to play a bigger role in the energy security of the bigger region. We have enough resources, and what we need is just long-term contracts from the buyers and funding, financing together with us, because we had a lot of other plans to implement, to invest in. You know, SOCAR is now becoming and transforming into energy company. You rightly mentioned we start as oil company, and even the name SOCAR is State Oil Company of Azerbaijan Republic. Then we transformed into gas company, and now we are oil, gas, and energy company.
Let me pick up on that point. We just published a report just yesterday about Azerbaijan. That's a very interesting one, which is that Azerbaijan's gas consumption dropped in 2024. And it came as somewhat of a surprise to me, because gas had been growing for some time. But the story behind it is a very interesting one. It's the emergence of energy writ broad that is the story. We saw a very sizable increase in renewable generation. Electricity production increased. There was less of a call on gas-fired generation. And so this story that we've been talking about in transition, Azerbaijan is living it. And it freed up basically another BCM for export to Europe just this past year. In terms of thinking about the future for this, we've seen kind of a rethink in Europe as they've redone this. They used to be before, it's all about renewables, it's all about diminishing gas. And in our old forecast from about 2 years ago, we were looking at almost a 50% decline in gas consumption, was what Europe was thinking. That made everyone treat you the way that they did, which is, we probably need some gas before 2030, but after that, not so much. We don't really want to do long-term contracts and so forth. I think the change that we're now seeing, where consumption is not going to drop by that same degree, has kind of changed the way that they look at you and how they think about some of your projects. So in terms of the key projects that you have on the slate right now, do you have a priority, or do you love all your children equally? Deep ACG gas, Shah Deniz Phase 3, Absheron Phase 2. I could go on and give a list because you most certainly have the resources, but how do you prioritize those projects? Or will they be prioritized by who steps out and who gets contracts and how commercial they are?
With your permission, before answering this question, I would like just to comment on two parts. First, regarding the gas consumption decrease, it's also energy efficiency is playing a critical role in it. And I do believe this is relevant for all countries and for all my partners sitting here. We discovered that there's a lot of opportunities of saving gas by switching to more energy efficient solutions in both households and industries. And this also helps to, let's say, consume less gas that might be exported. Second, when we talk about the Europe and we talk about decreasing the gas consumption, we always also have to look into why the volumes of consumed gas has decreased. Is it because of switching to alternative sources, or because of slowdown in industry and economy? And for us, it's not the issue of decreasing gas volumes by decreasing industrial output, industrial production, and slowing economic activity. It should be rather alternative solutions that will again supply the same energy which is needed by the economy, because economic activity should be high, and it acts, and actually it has a big impact on future policy decisions. When you have economic slowdown, you have problems in economy, you will be pushed by the public to adjust your policies, and you can go back to the policies that are not ensuring the best future for the region. And in that sense, when we talk about decreasing gas consumption in some countries, we should look to the reason why it happened. About the projects and priority, actually all of them are priority for us, because all of them are complementary, all of them can be implemented in parallel without harming each other. And actually implementing several projects in parallel, it helps to build joint shared infrastructure. It also helps to reduce the cost, at least for, in like upstream projects, you have mobilization and demobilization cost. But if you mobilize some rig or some vessel for not one, but for 5, 6, 7 projects, you already save for demob cost for all these projects, and you also can create shared infrastructure like export gas or oil pipelines that can be used and utilized by all these projects. It helps to reduce the capex. And nowadays, all projects in upstream, they compete with each other across the regions. And when you are making your investment decision, you are looking at the capex, at the profitability. And less capex you have, more profitability you have, because the price of oil and gas is almost the same across the regions. But where you can have your comparative advantage is the cost. And in that sense, having parallel projects implemented at the same time simultaneously helps to cut the cost, reduce the cost.
Thanks a lot. We don't want to forget the impact of efficiency of new equipment. This is going to be particularly important when we get down to talk to Uzbekistan, because they've got a problem very similar to yours, where you have a lot of gas that goes into power, and anything that you can save there, you know, the old saying from the Bible, a stitch in time saves nine, and I think that that's absolutely true when we get to Uzbekistan. But let's turn to Turkey for a few moments. And the CEO of TPAO, the Turkish upstream company, you don't have quite the same portfolio as some of the other ones. We always tend to think of you as a traditional sort of E&P company. But at the same time, you're caught in a position where Turkey has certain long-term ambitions in terms of energy independence, domestic oil and gas production, and of course your own interests of your company, which is to develop a profitable upstream. But you've been very busy developing the Sakarya field. And would it be fair to say that this has been almost an all-consuming project? I mean, we've been absolutely impressed, not leaving a lot of room or opportunity for other projects. So now that that project is reaching the third phase, what are you going to, my question for you is, what are you going to do next? What are your different priorities? You've got to explore more offshore, explore onshore, explore and develop internationally. Sort of what do you think you want to do differently? Because this has been a major project that has been absolutely transformative in Turkey. So I'd like to hear your perspectives on sort of where you're going to try and take this company next.
Thank you very much, Matt. First of all, I would like to thank for this excellent organization and event. And also, I would like to thank to my friend Ashkat Hasanov for his contribution and passion to organize this event. Actually, it's an honor for me to speak here. As speakers before me talked about energy transition, it is reality for us. Actually, we see it as challenge, but we try to turn it to opportunity between reality and requirements. Reality, in Turkey, we need energy, and we are very dependent on energy as import. So we consume 1 million barrels of oil and 1 million barrels equivalent gas per day. It means 2 million barrels of oil equivalent per day, and we need to source it from domestic or international markets. As Turkish Petroleum, 9 years ago, with a new deal called National Energy Policy, we changed our perspective based on energy transition. And we said we should be self-sufficient with domestic and international resources as a company to supply countries' needs. We were producing around 50,000 barrels per day during that time, and today we are about to produce 300,000 barrels per day with this new policy. What we did, first we invested both for onshore and offshore. In the past, we were operating 5-6 rigs, and now we are contracting 80 rigs onshore. And we discovered, before Sakarya, we discovered Gabar field onshore to produce oil, and it's about 81,000 barrels per day. Related to offshore, nobody believed in us. We said we will do our best, and we acquired first drill ship called Fatih, and I was in the operation. I was not CEO during that time. I was the CEO of service company. Nobody believed in us. There is nothing in Turkish offshore. We didn't discover anything. Our friends from Shell, ExxonMobil, Petrobras, everywhere they came to Black Sea, and we couldn't find anything. But we were believing in it. At the end, we discovered Sakarya. It's a huge resource. Now we are producing around 9 million cubic meters per day, and it will be more than 40 million cubic meters per day. With the discovery, our self-confidence increased. And now we are the 5th largest company in terms of drill ship vessel fleet. And all of them are working in Black Sea, and two of them just
Why don't you
acquired.
tell everybody how fast you went from FID to first phase production? And by yourself with no international majors. I mean, it's a major accomplishment that you should absolutely tell people.
At the beginning, I talked about realities and requirements. Reality, we are a consumer country, and requirement is for us. We should supply. If there is a reservoir to produce, then we did our best. Within the shortest time, maybe all over the world, maybe Egyptian Zohr field is similar, but we did better than them also. So we achieved to reach production within 2 years. And now we are in phase 2 and phase 3. We will have more, phase 4, phase 5, because this year we declared a new discovery. As Turkish Petroleum, till today, all over the world, we are the largest discoverer company in terms of reserves with the new discovery we called Göktepe. It is 75 billion cubic meters discovery, and we expect more with new wells. So we are happy to do it. And also, as a company, we have international perspective. Okay, we have discoveries, we have good reserves, but still it's not enough. We need more and more, so we should work internationally. And one of our biggest partners is SOCAR, next to me, my friend Roshan. We cooperate very well in Azerbaijan, and now with Ashkat, we decided to cooperate more in Kazakhstan. We are working in Russia, in Iraq, in Libya, in Niger, in Oman, in Somalia. For example, Somalia is a new challenge for us. And one of our drilling vessels worked for Somalia offshore. We are about to process and evaluate whether we should drill or not. So we push our borders to higher limits to achieve that Turkey can be self-sufficient in terms of its consumption. So we respect to climate change requirements. We try to adapt ourselves as a company for the climate change requirements. On the other hand, we think that at least we should find the way to balance our needs and decrease the dependency on import.
We've always tend to think of the international majors, like Rich, as being the reservoir of sort of technology, and we'll get to that eventually. But what have you learned in the area of technology from what you've been doing lately? And also, do you have any ambitions to do anything in the renewable space as part of the overall Turkish ambition? So,
actually, we cannot link that our name. We are Turkish Petroleum. That's reality. When I say reality and requirements, this is reality. We are not targeting to invest in renewables. Actually, in Turkey, we are the 5th largest country investing in renewables in Europe and 12th country investing all over the world for renewables. Turkish renewable investments are huge. But at our side, we should operate for oil and gas. It's our subject. But we balance this situation with different methodologies. First of all, we are a great consumption company. We consume around 400 gigawatt hours per year. So last year, we certified with guarantees of origin that Turkish Petroleum is consuming 100% renewable energy for all of our operations. So that's very important for us to benefit from renewable sources. And we target to consume our energy with our own renewable investments. So within 2 years, it will be 25% to supply our need with our own renewable sources. And within 5 years, we will supply all of our sources by our own renewable investments. So we try to respect energy transition requirements, climate change requirements, and we have 3 different methodologies to tackle with it. First of all, we are very focused on efficiency. We try to use less energy when we do business, and we use different technologies to make it less and less to reduce emissions. So as a company, we invest in this part a lot. The second strategy, we are working on it, renewable energy. As I said, we are investing for our consumption. And we also invest in technology and equipments. And we closely follow scope 1, 2, and 3 greenhouse emissions to reduce our methane emissions, and we invest carbon capture technologies for this target. And we have a motto for this dilemma. We say, reliable today, sustainable tomorrow.
Excellent points. So it sounds to me like as you think about technology and renewables, it's more a matter of operational effectiveness and efficiency rather than being a merchant developer itself. But it basically gives me pause to think about the different stories that we've heard here. And now we're going to hear another one from a different national oil company, from Uzbekneftgaz. And Uzbekistan faces a somewhat different challenge. Uzbekistan has had very, very high consumption of natural gas. Its natural gas was, something like 85% of national primary energy supply. One of the highest gasified countries in the world. And here they are running out of gas, declining domestic gas production, along with rising demand, as we were reminded by the president of SOCAR, which is part and parcel of when your economy is booming, so does your energy consumption grow. And so Uzbekneftgaz is compelled to think of a different way of working. It has to think of new ways of trying to strengthen its resource base, new ways of meeting this energy requirement. And some of it is old or very traditional, and some of it is new. Some of it means reaching out to new partners, like the one on the left-hand side of you here. But Mr. Siddiqov, decline in gas production in recent years poses a very strategic challenge for Uzbekneftgaz. The goal is, of course, to slow the decline, but to also rethink the approach in terms of thinking about it. And I don't mean to say that you're not an integrated company, because you are. You're another national company with a system-forming function, but I would say that this central question about natural gas is a very dominant one. So what steps are you taking? New technologies, new partnerships, changes to your upstream model as you think about this central challenge of gas supply?
Yep, thank you very much. I would like, before I answer your question, I would like to thank the organizers of this very interesting forum. It's my honor also to be here and to share our views and to answer your questions. You are absolutely right in terms of increasing consumption and demand in the country. You know that Uzbekistan currently is a growing nation, but we do also appreciate that the current levels of consumption is too high of natural gas and energy. So if you compare it to Turkey, you can realize that the amount of natural gas consumed in Uzbekistan, in Turkey, is almost same amount. And if you compare the population, the economy, it's a different scale. From that perspective, we do appreciate that there are a lot of things we have to do on energy saving, a lot of things required to do on modernization of our systems consuming natural gas. But in parallel, we are also working, it's our, on the day-to-day business to work on increasing of gas production. It's not recent news. The decline of natural gas in Uzbekistan is happening already for a long period. But with the current technologies, with the right partners, with the right skills, with the right equipment and tools, we believe we can make change. So this year, so this is mainly related to new exploration, investment in new exploration with proper technologies, proper partners. So we also already see some change this year. Starting from this year, we do have new findings in Usturt area, in the northern part of Uzbekistan, where we are drilling now deep wells. So, I mean, for the last several years, the technology.
Let me emphasize deep, 6,500 meters. So again, we can see the technology challenge that's involved, but this is going to resonate with the other leaders up on here.
Yeah, actually, you know, the average depth of the wells in Uzbekistan was around 3,000 meters. So we have actually, it's the regular fields, massive gas fields, but currently we are, our challenge is to get not the standard type of gas fields. So we are looking to the more interesting side, but more challenging. So in terms of going deeper, so currently our, average well in Usturt area is around 5,000 meters. So this is actually not a challenge already today. So if I tell you that 2 years ago to drill the well for the 5,000 meters, we could spend around a year. It's like 300 days. So currently, with the proper technologies, with the bringing new equipment, with the sharing of our experience with our partners, we can do it in 2 months. So this is quite a different change to the prospects, because the new findings we achieve or we find, we can bring into the production as much faster comparing to the previous stage. That's our, I think, positive and strength at the current situation. And we also, you know, we recently announced about our cooperation in Usturt area with our friends from SOCA. We are also inviting third partner to that production sharing agreement. And we believe that together we can do things.
Let me emphasize that word, production sharing agreements. Besides innovations on technology, they're also thinking back in terms of how you relate to your investors. And for those of you from here, from Kazakhstan, you know, production sharing agreement has been a nasty word since 2009. But what we're seeing is that there's many new areas of the world where this is still very much viewed as a useful way of engaging with clients and technology.
Yeah, I think depending on the project of its scales or the difficulty, we also, you know, have several models of cooperation with our partners today. So one of them is production sharing agreement, and we are also working with several contracts on risk service, where our partners come in to develop our fields, to bring the production levels up, but at the risk of the investors, right? But we have now a lot of more interesting model currently implemented with our technological partners, which we call like joint project implementation team. When our service contractors come to us, not offering only services, but they are working together with us as one team to bring up and to come up with the solutions how to increase the production. So that's a new format for Uzbekistan, and we are actively started working almost on all of our fields. We are now working with leaders in this area.
Let me ask one more question and then we'll turn on. To what extent has it made a difference to you to have kind of the oil part of the business basically spread up? Because for you, oil was never important. Oil was basically handed off to a different entity. Has this made your job easier or more difficult? Because you still produce lots of liquids and condensate. Has it lightened your load as CEO, or has it made it more difficult because you have to coordinate more?
Yeah, I believe, I don't think it will be proper to say that oil was never important. We didn't have oil, so that's the truth. But oil is always important for the economy, I believe, and we are import of oil and oil products is one of the major parts of our imports in the country. So we actually in the Usturt area also we see that there is a big potential in liquid hydrocarbons also. So from that perspective, the project we are working with SOCAR, we also expecting to get some oil. Because, you know, oil is if you put the energy transition, oil was always the basic, then gas, then others. So oil, we need this as oil also, these oil projects.
I mean, my saying has always been oil, нефть, это деньги, gas, это хлеб. That's always been my statement there. But again, we see these changing roles, these changing innovations in organizational structure, in technology and so forth, to transform the nature of how you relate to your resource base and company. Rich, let's turn to you. You're SVP for conventional oil and gas, and so I think quite naturally a lot of the discussion that you've heard has been like music to your ears. Oil and gas more and longer, and it's not disappearing anytime soon. At the same time, some of these questions about the role of technology, the role of partners, these are things that you've been thinking about for a long time. But about a decade ago, Shell was very important in terms of rolling out the technology roadmap here in Kazakhstan. And I think it was a very important benchmark because in many ways, what I've been hearing has sort of been touched on that. But how do you think about technology in your leadership role?
Yeah, thanks very much, Matt. I'll come to your question here just in a second, but before I do, I wanted to recognize a couple of things. I think first is to recognize Mr. Khasenov and Mr. Akshalakov for the coordination and sponsorship role that you've played in pulling together this Kaz Energy Forum. I think each of us on the stage right now get a large number of opportunities to participate in these industry forums and probably say no to most. But we have said yes to this invitation because it's an important forum, it's an important country, and Kazakhstan is a special place for the energy landscape. So thank you again for the invitation. I also wanted to just recognize, Matt, your upcoming personal milestone. 50 years of marriage is remarkable, and anyway, congratulations to you and your wife. That's not about technology. You asked about technology. In particular on that, I think it's important to recognize a couple of things. Yeah, we certainly did play a role in that Kazakhstan technology roadmap, what feels like a really long time ago, as you say, 10 years ago. I think the world has changed, gosh, it's changed a lot in the past year or two, and certainly over the course of that 10 years. I think one of the things that we collectively expected, and many of my distinguished colleagues have touched on thus far, has been a bit of a tailing off in demand at a global level. And of course, that's never happened, with the exception of the COVID period. Even just last year, it was a new global record in terms of consumption at 104 million barrels a day. And if 25 finishes the way that 25 has started, then we'll be at 105.5 million barrels a day of consumption. So that demand picture has not changed, and yet the need for energy is outpacing the supply provided by the 104, 105 million barrels a day of hydrocarbons. So what you see is the increasing importance of alternatives. And so you find yourself in a position of very much needing kind of an all-of-the-above style approach, where you do need oil and gas, and you do need renewable sources, you do need low-carbon sources of energy in order to satisfy the growing demand through population growth, through growth of the middle class, through people becoming more wealthy and wanting more options. And technology is going to play a big role in that. You're right that Shell as a partner has had, I think, the honor of partnering with Kazakhstan through the years. We did help to pull together this roadmap a decade or so ago, and we've continued to sort of progress down that track. From our perspective, we're particularly proud of a few things in particular that we've brought in terms of our drilling capabilities, in terms of digitalization, in terms of some special sour technologies that have been brought to the country, but also some ways to reduce carbon with the existing footprint that we have here in the country. We have, as a company, put over $18 billion of investment in the country. I think it's been a great investment. Would love to continue making investment in an environment that's predictable and transparent. On technology in particular, I think about the way that technology has the impact, not just to be part of a paper roadmap, or not just as a pathway to develop more oil and gas, but also in the role of developing people's lives. We created this geochemical laboratory in Atirau, a city where I spent 4 years of my life with my family, and had the privilege of seeing that facility come up and running. It's something really to be proud of, but I think that's partly technology, but now what you have is a capability in Atirau which is able to provide services not only domestically but internationally as well. That's the power of technologies in changing people's lives. I think going forward, it's important to have a measure of humility about the role of technology. 20, 30 years ago, you needed pretty exotic technologies to unlock volumes like ultra deep water and 20K and high pressure, high temperature and ultra sour compositions. But I think those days have shifted from highly specialized, very bespoke, very unique, very proprietary technologies now to where a lot of what we do in our day-to-day has become commodity engineering, where actually the role of technology now should be focused in on affordability. So you think about the energy trilemma around carbon and security and energy affordability. Actually, technology can help us unlock more supply so that prices can come down, so that consumers can enjoy the options of life at a lower price point. I think that's an important pathway for technology. Of course, reducing the carbon intensity of every barrel that we produce is an excellent target for technology, but then also using technology to develop marginal barrels that are historically too expensive to bring online, but actually if you can unlock through smart drilling or through digital solutions, suddenly become quite economic. So we look forward to kind of the next stage of the technology conversation in Kazakhstan and beyond.
Interesting point that you made about commodity engineering.
Yep.
It seems to be a different way of thinking about things, particularly in your role, in an IOC, where your claim to fame is not necessarily the barrels that you control in the ground, like many of the NOCs, but the skills that you bring to bear above the ground.
Sure.
We heard a very interesting story from TPO where they went ahead with a very ambitious, very difficult project that a decade before I would have had a hard time imagining not having an international partner. now are those skills available to where this commodity engineering is something that can be obtained by the national companies that we're talking about here, or is it something that basically the international companies still have a let's call it not a monopoly, but basically plenty to bring to bear and still a lot to bear on this whole question?
Sure. I think, again, it's the importance of humility. I think there was a day when we had a lot of toys that no one else had. I think today we still have some special capabilities that are quite unique and compelling and competitive. But the magic today is in finding the right partnerships. I mean, the way that you stay married 50 years, Matt, is by bringing the right attributes into the relationship and doing something together that neither of you could have done alone. Now, I think it's important to not advertise yourself as someone without whom the counterparty could never be successful, because we see time and time again remarkable examples of great companies doing great things really, really quickly and with excellence and quality. So then the question becomes, what is that differentiated capability that you bring that can help your partner be even more successful?
Rich, you talked about marginal barrels, but are you also a believer in the terminology advantaged barrels? In other words, you want to turn, let's say, like an alchemist, stuff that wasn't so good before, you turn them into being advantaged with the kinds of skills that you bring to bear. Are you a big advocate of the idea of advantaged barrels, or you basically that's just kind of a word?
No, it's a real thing, but I think you've got to be honest. And so we talk a lot about advantaged barrels. We talk a lot about high margin, low carbon barrels, but I think you got to be able to then prove it and to demonstrate that you can do what you claim. My current portfolio in the conventional oil and gas business, from Argentina to Malaysia, is my set of responsibilities now. But for the years before that, I was accountable for our global deep water portfolio. I think advantaged barrels are where you have differentiated, unique capabilities that you bring to bear, where you can unlock volumes that have been out of reach for everyone, unlock those volumes, and then bring them to market. Those are what I would consider to be advantaged barrels, not only from bringing on more supply, not only from the margin of great margins, but also from the perspective of we can also do it at very, very, very low carbon intensities. And so you wind up getting sort of a best of both in your portfolio.
That's great. I want to circle back to our host here, KMG, to ask a very similar question. Oh, and by the way, I have a very important announcement. My wife will say, and you must admit, she was a child bride. So keep that in mind anytime you see her. It's something about women and age. She was a child bride. Now we're approaching 50 years. But coming back to this question about advantaged barrels or marginal barrels in Kazakhstan, you basically said, look, we are going to emphasize our traditional skills, our traditional role as a company. Where do you see the next generation of oil in Kazakhstan? I'm keeping in mind the fact that today there is a meeting of Kalamkas Khazar operating today for a meeting, but that's one area in the offshore, but are there some other areas that you're looking at to draw from some of the other things? Are you looking at deep? Are you looking at offshore? Are you looking outside the country? Where are your next generation of barrels?
Thank you. I think again it depends on efficiency. Anyway, when you're asking about Kazakhstan advantage, you know very well Kazakhstan is one of the biggest world supplier of oil, and today our government also support all the initiatives, I mean, in legislation, some new model of contract, yes, this improved model contract, a lot of regulation excludings, and this packet of things, it helps to believe anyway that in Kazakhstan we will, as I answered before, we will product oil in long term. This plateau will be in long term. Of course, it depends on many of aspects, price and etc. But anyway, Kazakhstan is one of the biggest oil supplier in the world, and we are proud of this, of course. If we are talking precisely about KMG, in our focus, all points as what you mentioned now, it's not only internally domestic market, of course. We were discussing about geological aspects. I mean, today all the participants on this session emphasized that anyway we believe in oil consumption in a long-term period, long-term decades, yes, long decades. Anyway, we see it, and this works in geological, in drilling wells in more depths. This is a refinery. Anyway, international aspects is also important because we are, I mean, as I try to maybe explain why I mentioned about strong collaboration between our partners and colleagues. Today, you know, it's only one example when we supply our oil through BTC. It's also cooperation. We have a strong cooperation between all of us. I mean, Sakar, Uzbekneftegaz, in digital projects, in safety, in technology, and a lot of aspects today. And I think it helps to us be more efficiency. We can talk by phone and give some recommendations for many aspects. That's why, as a KMG, we will do our work here, which can't do our private some subsoil companies. It's mean to invest in geological, in depth, and the second in gas chemical, oil chemical projects, because for another private company it's a big challenge, yes, from capex. From this is our mission, I believe, for the government to improve our economy when Kazmunaygas will do the job where private companies can do it. I mean, this is our mission, and this is internally, yes, in domestic our market. Of course, international also, we are a public company, and we are always trying to find balance between our local efficiency and international. We have our contribution and helps to government in a refinery. You know, a lot of things, but our focus is today be efficiency. This is our priority anyway. Thank you.
Well, you heard that the challenge is both to find balance and to find efficiency in terms of major goals.
We have to, anyway.
And I think that those are important issues to think in mind, I think across all of our leaders here. I was almost, the way that I was going to end this was by asking each one of you what your number one challenge was. What do you see as your number one challenge? Finding balance, being efficient. Russia, number one challenge.
choice.
Making the right
among
choice.
Available opportunities.
Ahmed.
Digitalization.
Digitalization. Okay.
I think the biggest challenge in our case was to, it's a people.
People challenge. And Rich?
Capability and talent.
Capability and talent. All right. Well, I want to thank our panelists for this excellent discussion today. I think it's a great way to begin this overall conference. I am very impressed with our venue as well. It's been a good number of years since I've been in here. It's been refreshed. It looks absolutely beautiful, Bolat. Congratulations on the conference. Thank you.